Well, Michael, thanks for inviting us into your studio this afternoon.
Well, you're very welcome. It's been an enjoyable experience, and this was a little trial effort in our uh, documenting things about the Friends of Western Art. Hugh Fletcher and I started this sort of an idea with friends, sort of a video history about the organization and what it's meant to Tucson and artists. And I know a lot of our artists have participated with friends and helped us out. And this might be a way to encourage you, if we can do this well enough, to participate in this. Jim Sheehan gave me a call during the pandemic, and we talked about some ideas on how we can present some things to our group during the pandemic, since we can't get together. And he came up with the idea of interviewing some of our artists in the studio, and I get the first run here and hope it's successful. And we don't know how long the pandemic's going to last, so who knows, we might be knocking on your door pretty soon. And I encourage you to participate because it's an enjoyable experience.
Well, Michael, thanks for being the first to volunteer for all this. And in your studio here, I see there's a bunch of nice, all really well done pictures up here. Can you explain what these are?
Well, these are pictures, paintings, pastels from my collection that I did mostly for myself. I think only one of them ever turned up in a gallery, but I got it back and am enjoying it. And that would be this young lady here who participates in many of the dances around the Southwest, and she wins awards all the time. And they all represent, again, things that experiences in my life, places I've been, things I've wanted to do. Pastels are kind of interesting because my daughter wanted to learn pastels, and I said to myself, well, I better, if I'm going to teach her, I better know something about them. And so I took them out. Naturally, we studied Harley Brown when we were doing it. And like I say, these are just things that I wouldn't maybe normally do for a gallery, but I still wanted to challenge myself, and they kind of give me some memories about things that have happened in my life and places I've been.
Well, Michael, they certainly look like some Michael Ewings, uh, but I think we see some things down here on the floor that maybe we wouldn't have thought associated with Michael Ewing. It looks like you've got a nice guitar collection.
So this is my music studio section here, and I always had a guitar around, but I never had the time to really learn much about it. Always hung out with musicians. And in my retirement from teaching, I decided that I would teach myself how to play the guitar. And I guess I got a bit carried away with it. I don't play for anybody but myself. But it has been really a lot of fun to learn more about music and the guitar. It can be a very simple instrument or a complicated instrument. And it serves another purpose in my artwork too, because a lot of the studies that they have done about creativity talk about where do the ideas come from? How do these things happen? And how do you think through what you're going to do next in art or in music or something? And they found that it sometimes they, or maybe most of the time, they happen when you're actually away from the work that you're doing. That I don't know if it relaxes your mind or it distracts you, but it does promote the thought and the creativity that you need to get where you want to go with what you're trying to achieve. And this became one of my several distractions to get me thinking about things.
Well, they're beautiful instruments. Well, Michael, let's go on into the painting studio and
Okay.
see where the magic happens.
So then we go over to the art studio, which is actually a little bit smaller than the music studio, but this is about all the space you need. You need a little bit of distance to get back from your piece once in a while, visually. Some artists will use a mirror behind them, but I've got enough distance here to achieve that. And this is the way I set things up, whether I'm traveling. My studio in Michigan is set up the same way. It just, you want your palette on the same side for some reason. And this easel was made by a friend of mine that I taught with years ago. And he was a woodworker. And he made it, and the design, and made it to fit me. And for example, he actually measured my hand so that these handles that he carved out fit my grip, and it's really, he did a really nice job with it, and I've had it for years now. So it's a rather unique easel.
And do you have enough brushes, Michael?
Well, it's interesting because I actually was listening to a little critique probably about an impressionist recently on television. And I think it was, they were talking about Monet, talking about how brushwork has to remain interesting. That if the brushwork is all the same, it's not gonna work. And so you end up experimenting with a lot of different kinds of brushes. And they all have different things elements that they give you. And then you end up with your favorites, but again, you want variety in your brushwork. Palette work adds another dimension to it. Sometimes you want a big paintbrush to keep things loose, and sometimes you want a very small brush. Say you're working on a tiny little face or something. So you go from that to something like this, and they all have their purpose and give you the look that you're after.
Well, Michael, this is obviously a great place to do your work, and we're excited to go through and see the paintings that you've been working on and learn from you and what they represent. But thanks again for having us in to your studio this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing these up on the wall.